So these are the things you're going to need. Don't be overwhelmed. If you have none of these things, that's okay. If you have only your journal and a pen, that's okay. These are the things I use to make the drawings that I have here. So welcome to Heart. Here's where we gather here on Zoom every Sunday and once a month on Saturdays for some years now. And we are a 21st century spiritual community inspired by contemplation and action that trusts in the healing energy of love. So the plan here today is to practice making a neurographic line, to practice rounding the corners, and then to speak a moment or two about adding color. It's a type of drawing that can be used in place of seated meditation. Sometimes you're a little bit antsy and you can't sit still. This can help you channel some of that energy. So we're going to do about 27 minutes of me talking and explaining and us practicing. And then we're going to play some nature sounds and while we continue our drawing. And then we will share with our usual guidelines at the end. And then we have a recessional. And today's recessional, if you want to get the lyrics, I sent them to the WhatsApp group, is Soul Clapping by Sly and the Family Stone, followed by The Beatles, In My Life, from the Rubber Soul album. Okay, so I'm hoping that everyone here has something to draw on and draw with. So I'm going to move the stuff out of here. Joe, we're seeing your screensaver. I'm not seeing speaker view. We're just looking at you. Okay, can we see my screen? Can everyone see it? Yes?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, all right. So here, I'm going to move this out of the way, and I hope that we will have those things ready. Just show you a few things. What is neurographic drawing? What does it look like? It looks sort of like this. These are ones that I have done over the past 2 or 3 months. I'd say it's helped me a lot in dealing with my sciatica pain from my spinal stenosis. And sometimes you're sitting there and you don't know what to do. And if you have like a clipboard by your chair where you usually sit, you can put a piece of paper on there and have it by your meditation station. This is what it looks like before you add colors. And it's sort of interesting. It's called neurographic drawing because when you round all the little corners, it begins to look like neurons. So neurons, graphic, picture. So it's like a picture of the neurons. So this drawing is something that we can do to try and see things from a different point of view. So how to do the neurographic line. So neurographic line, these are all the lines that we make before we add any colors. And if you have a clipboard, you can clip your paper in place, or you can hold it with your hand, or if you have, something to set on there. Now you take your first drawing pen. I'm using a blue Sharpie here because that's what I have handy. Ultra fine point. Let's see if you can see it. So to do the neurographic line, a neurographic line is something that doesn't have any direction, although we are always kind of going for it. I'm going to go from this side of the page to the other side of the page. And this is not a neurographic line. Okay, you can't see that. Let me get a better pen here for you. Here, let's use this purple one. This is not a neurographic line. A neurographic line never repeats itself. So this is not a neurographic line. That's not a neurographic line. Well, what the hell is a neurographic line? Neurographic line just is you with your hand, either your right hand or your left hand, whichever one you want, And it's just, you're going to concentrate very mindfully on the feeling of the writing instrument on the paper. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. And then you, as soon as you think, oh, I'm going too far forward, you come back just a little. So you're just kind of a little bit like doing the Ouija board. If you recall that old game where you're just trying to push things around and hear answers from ghosts and so forth. So as soon as you feel that your ego is pushing you like, oh, I'm going to go this way, you come back just a little bit. And if you pose a question that you want your drawing exercise to answer, you can think about that or ponder it. Or just simply with the mindfulness feeling of what the pen feels like on the page. And that'll vary depending on what type of paper you have and what type of pen you've selected. Hopefully you have something that's easy for you to do. So I made a neurographic line across. Let's start again. Let's say, so we'll make a series of neurographic lines going from one side to the other side of the page. Well, I'll challenge you to try to do that now. Let's try to make a couple of lines. So poise your pen. If you feel like you're a serious artist already, and oh my goodness, this is too basic for me, you might want to switch to your non-dominant hand so that your ego won't be directing you too much. So let's make a few lines. We're trying to get to the other side of the river here. And we're going to do it just very like we are a river. We are forging a natural pathway through the mountains and streams and the waters of abstract thought to try and get to the other side. So do attempt to make yourself a little line there. And as soon as it's kind of hard, it feels a little uncomfortable. Like, what am I doing? And so you feel like, oh, I'm heading this way. I should go a little bit different, go in a different way. And just very mindfully making this line. And you can consider, what a pure, wonderful being that you are, that you have this incredible opposable thumbs and that you can grasp this instrument and this tool and create your little universe right here. When you come back to do another line, you start anywhere that feels good and bring another line. Of course, they will cross at some point. And those crossing points are a key part of this exercise. These are places where connections are made, where neural connections are made. The more you do this, the more you can kind of do it without being so very intentional. You're just kind of like you're a drop of water moving through the landscape. And you may have to pass over mountains and streams. And if you ever look at a map and see how the Ohio River, the Mississippi River, or the Danube, it's very, windy. It's kind of wiggly and windy, not a straight line as the crow flies. So let's see how you're doing. I hope we made our 3 lines here. Yeah. Okay, so what is the next step after you've made your lines? So that's the neurographic line. And you can make as many lines as you want. We have about 20 minutes here to do the explanation, so I just did 3 lines. Well, the next part is to talk about the intersections and to round the corners. Get another big thing. So the corners are the places that your drawing intersects. So here's one right here. And we call these nodes, like in your neurons. So there's a little connection there. So the act of rounding out the corners is to find all of these places where your connections occur. Find them all. You don't need to circle them. I'm just doing that to draw your attention to them. And then you will round the corners. That's where your second pen comes in. Maybe you have a darker pen or a little bit thicker pen that you can go over the lines with and kind of drive along these lines. or paddle along or swim along. We are just moving through this space that we have created. So what is the rounding off of the corner look like? Here, I'll give you another. Let's say you have this is your node and your corner. You want to come here to the corner and round off the section, like you were driving and taking a shortcut, going around instead of going all the way to the stop sign. And then you color it in. And that's what makes it seem like a neuron and what gives it more connection. And it is the act of rounding all your corners is the most soothing, relaxing part of this exercise. Drawing all the neurographic lines, that's very meditative and mindful. And then when you get to the rounding off of the corners, that's where the magic can occur, if you will. So I hope anybody having difficulty so far? I think you are all on it. I see you leaning over your work. This is very satisfying. I wish I could walk around and go around and tell you what a wonderful job you're doing. Yes, you can make art too. Whatever some teacher told you, or I don't know, I took art, thought I was going to make a living doing this. You really have to let go of trying to get money in exchange for your pure-hearted effort here at making a drawing. So you want to round off your corners. And the rounding of the corners can be, let me get a thicker, easier to see pen. I have too many pens. It's like when you have too many things in your lighthouse bag. Which one should you use today? Now, sometimes when you have a rounding, mind will see like a circle when you make that rounding. And they can be a larger curve or a very small curve all together. And you want to kind of go along each thing. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you definitely want to make your filled in curvy part extend nicely into the line. So you're creating these things. So what you don't want to do is just go like this. That's sort of cheating. Now you can use this technique for anything, and you don't have to make a big production out of it, or you can make a big production out of it. Formalize it. Do a little hand massage. Get ready to ask the oracle of the blank page some question of importance or some assistance, or to try and how can I look at my current situation a little bit differently? Or perhaps you wish to uncover all of those layers of education and formation that we've all been through, some more than most, to get to where you are, where you don't draw at all ever. And it's not quite like a doodle, but, doodling is sort of soothing. Let's say you're listening to a relative go on and on about their health on the phone. You can do some little doodling. That's sort of relaxing. But here we're taking it to another level and making it a little more of a therapy, if you will. And some people call it art therapy, others don't. I've seen ever so many YouTube videos of people purporting to be experts in this. And you can pay enough money and get a degree from Pavel Piskarov, who created this technique in 2014. And on YouTube, there's just a plethora of videos about how to do it. And there's even more than just the neurographic line and the rounding. There are also things you could do to highlight sections. You can take a round object and say, I have a strong feeling about this section here, so I'm going to make a circle around it. So that's another thing, a circle. And of course, you would come in and round all of the intersections from your circle. Obviously, you don't have to do anything I say, and you can do whatever you want. It's perfectly okay, and you're not going to be graded on this. I just want to show you how you can use drawing to make perhaps something quite beautiful or not. We're not trying to create a beautiful object that will sell. We're trying to work through whatever issues that we're dealing with of the day. A nice thing, if you do a morning meditation, you could do your morning neurographic drawing. And then as you want, add colors to it and so forth. I'm going to show you. I have so many papers sitting around here. Find my paper. Okay, here's the one. This is one that I worked on and managed to round off all the corners. Well, sometimes you get to a point where you think, you know what? I really need more lines. And then you feel free to add more to fill up some empty space if you want. You can switch pens if you want. Well, when it comes time to add color, don't be overwhelmed with all your colors. I have 1,000 colors. And it always makes it kind of challenging, choosing the color. It's like trying to buy cereal at Kroger. There's 1,000 types of cereal. It's not just Frosted Flakes or Grape Nuts Flakes anymore. So I like the jewel tone, so I picked these colors. This is a blue, there's a green, and there's a sort of a purpley color. And you can just start adding color wherever you want. I've discovered that most of my neurographic drawings are coloring inside the lines. Remember coloring books? Did you ever have one of those? Usually outline the drawing and then fill it in perfectly and neatly. You don't have to do that. You could do more of a gentle adding color to a certain section. Yeah, that section feels sort of green to me. It's not easy being green, and so forth. You can also use watercolors. Watercolor pencils. One other thing I wanted to tell you about these coins. If you're making you're back to making your weird neurographic line and you just can't deal with it. It's too uncomfortable. You could take a coin. I've got a 1976 silver dollar with Dwight D. Eisenhower, back when Republicans were a little bit different. You can take your pen and hold it near the coin, and then you just kind of push the coin around, and it helps you. It's a little bit harder to get to the other side this way, and so that makes you focus a little bit more on exactly what's happening with your pen. You can use like a bottle cap, depending on how rough your paper is and how smoothly your pen moves across the paper. You might want something bigger or heavier. And the neurographic lines usually go off the page like that. So how are we doing? Are we getting the concept here? I think we are. I see some thumbs up. Well, we're going to try and make ourselves a drawing. So let's do some neurographic drawing. If you have already started it, that's fine. If you want to start with a fresh sheet of paper, that's fine. And we're just trying to let go of all of our attempts to create a beautiful object or pressure to finish something and just be present mindfully with the paper and the neurographic drawing. So we are going to play some nature sounds. I like the nature sounds because, well, they're natural. Thank you, Joe. So I've just picked these off of Spotify. Birds, when birds are singing outside, that's how we know it's safe. So you are safe here because the birds are singing, and I'm here with you, and you don't have to get an A, and you don't have to do anything at all. And you can just sit here and watch me draw if you want, or watch the other people leaning over their work. So it's gathering the energy just from being here together. And we know the world will be saved by beauty, Joe says sometimes. So here we can create some beauty too, with just whatever we have here. And if you're just alone on a desert island with your Zoom, you can just make these marks in the sand or on your cave wall or on your prison cell wall or wherever you are. All right, so I think I'm going to try with my left hand because I'm such a type A control freak. I'm going to go from right to left just for the hell of it. And I'm going to bring Dwight Eisenhower with me. Yeah. Now, if you have some difficulty, you want to speak up here, you go ahead and speak to me. Otherwise, be mindful with your pen. Be grateful you have these modern pens. You don't have to like dip them in ink that you made yourself. The nice thing about this for an artist is you're not trying to make it read as something. You're not trying to draw a picture like those wonderful pictures Julie Russell has made and is making. We're like, I can't draw that well. You don't have to have any skills other than just your opposable thumbs holding onto your pen. And later on, you might see things in your drawing. And you don't want your neurographic lines to break. If you find they've broken, you can attach them together afterwards. And I'm making those 3 lines across the page. You'll make as many lines as you want. Consider saving some time to round the corners because that is the juicy part. While you're doing this, think about how it makes you feel. And while you're rounding your corners, you might think, I need another line. There's a big empty space, or this little corner is sticking out. So I'm just going to add another line, bring a connection in. So don't worry about finishing the drawing. You can always come back to it later. Well, it'd be good to do the initial neurographic lines in a kind of meditative place. And then you can, if you need to divide up your drawing session, come back and round the curves. And then there's color if you like. Color is lovely.